Okay, again. Yeah, I want to inform you about another preset or how I work with my presets on Gshade, because Gshade is the defining factor that makes my image look so clean and crisp. I can toggle it on right now and to show you what I mean by doing so. I hope that the video is not lagging too much. I also fixed some background stuff that didn't work properly before, but anyways, we will want to get into this topic. And yeah, something that I haven't talked about yet is the green screen, which is super helpful to kind of get your character anywhere where you want to make thumbnails or want to post screenshots of your character in particular and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that is a super helpful tool to get this accomplished. So first of all, I have set my Gshade menu or my interface or the whole thing itself to F1, which opens up this menu here. And as you can see, it already posts or opens up my preset. I can move this a bit so that you can still see that. Yeah, it should work. You don't need this right now. Okay, so in this menu, you can set all your presets that you find in the current folder that you have selected right now. In my case, it's Gshade presets, and somebody asked me in which folder do I need to put these presets, and it actually doesn't matter. As long as you're navigating towards the proper folder, you can always find these settings. For example, if I go to these dots here, that will open up a previous folder. Then we have all this preset stuff that you already download when you're downloading Gshade. And I could go to the dots. I have to be careful because I'm quickly into certain folders that I don't want to show here. But I think we can still go one backwards. Yeah, as you can see, Gshade preset shaders. This is the Gshade folder itself, and this should be my Final Fantasy IV. Yeah, as you can see, Games, Square Enix, Final Fantasy XIV, Realm Reborn. So this is inside of my Final Fantasy XIV folder, and I highly recommend to do that. I'm not sure if it's actually required to do that. Yeah, just make sure to just do it. It's not a big deal. In game, then to Gshade presets, and I think from here you can navigate towards your folder. It doesn't matter where you put it. I have my Desperius favorites folder right now, and oh, I was too fast here. Yeah, Desperius favorites, and then I have the off version where everything is not displayed and is not toggled. Then I have the cutscenes Eau Claire, for example, which I use for cutscenes where we don't have this very heavy background filter or the very heavy background depth of field, for example. As you can see, that's the difference. This is much better for taking screenshots and stuff, but I think for filming footage or for recording something or actually gameplay, if you're up to gameplay, this is the better option to just don't display or don't toggle a depth of field, because that's heavily depending on that the camera is actually getting your focus and where it has to get focus to, and it really makes a difference if you're toggling this off and doesn't cause much heavy issues. And as a general rule of thumb for using Gshade as a gameplay preset, if you're aiming for high values with refresh rates, for example, if you're using a monitor or screen that uses 144 Hz refresh rates, I actually cannot recommend to use Gshade at all because it costs performance. I can show you. I can open up this one here. I hope this works properly now in combination. Yeah, so right now, as you can see with Gshade applied, and of course my streaming software is costing me a bit as well. I can go into the performance mode, but now I don't want to. I want to see this, what happens there. But yeah, as you can see, we have 63 FPS with Gshade toggled, and if I turn this off, it's a hell of a difference. It definitely changes upwards to 144 Hz and FPS if I'm not streaming right now. And I think it's more like because I'm streaming and recording this. Okay, I think that's the case. Okay, so make that sure. If you're aiming for high refresh rates and high FPS values, Gshade is not the optimal thing. Even if you're just going for something that is gameplay, it's still demanding. As you can see, we're dropping still around 30% performance or something. And I think the visual difference is not that impactful that it would make sense to use it actually. It depends on what you want. If you're not caring about FPS, go for Gshade. If your PC can handle it, and if you have a powerful graphics card that is able to handle that with no problem, doing this is definitely improving your graphical appearance. But the one that I'm using is kinda a mix-up of this to sort of provide good thumbnails, good visual quality on thumbnails on my character, edge out the details, the shadows, and still blur the background a bit. But like I said, you can adjust this completely on your own, and this is definitely something on 4K resolution. I'm reaching more than 60 FPS, clean 60 to 70 FPS at least, when not streaming right now or not recording anything. So this is definitely something you should consider doing and applying to yourself. And of course, with lower resolutions, you are not struggling a lot with performance, and you're not having a much more heavy impact on your performance as I have on 4K resolution right now. But of course, as you can see, turning this off is freeing up a lot of FPS right now. It takes a while to normalize. Yeah, at least it gets double amount or something around this. The basic thing here that you need to take care of is that all of these effects that you can toggle here have impact. Especially the QMXAO or MXAO, these have a heavy performance impact. But I would say they also do improve your graphical appearance a lot. And of course, you can find the Fashionista stuff on the Fashionista Discord server or their YouTube videos. They always have this in their description. Or you can find this particular preset that I use in our Discord server as well. So check that out in the description. Check it out wherever you can find the Discord link. And check out the preset, the Gshade preset channel on our Discord server. There's something when I get a very bright background and I'm kind of using more impact or more immersive visual quality, then I'm using these levels. This will kind of highlight the differences between colors a bit more, but it's really a difficult setting if you're having a very dark background and not very brighted area. You should definitely be careful with using this in these scenarios. But for now, as you can see, this kind of makes it look better and more contrastful. Then we have levels plus. You can put this onto it as well, and this will push this even further, but sometimes it's over the top. I'm not sure about the bandana, for example. Some colors are getting a bit too dark and we lose some details here maybe. So you always have to be very careful with these settings. And a skin tone is maybe a bit too whitish. Yeah, not very skin tone like. Yeah, adjust this according to your own preference and to the setting that you're doing right now. Another example that is very, very impactful is clarity and clarity 2. This will just increase the overall sharpness a bit more. So edges are getting sharper, textures are getting a better, clearer detail range, and I can only recommend to toggle this on because it also doesn't consume too much performance. As you can see, we're not winning so much FPS if not using them, so you can easily just use them and don't have any problems. Then, of course, there are also very progressive editing styles like Arcane Bloom, for example, which puts up a very, very progressive lighting effect that this Eau Claire preset comes with in default settings. I toggled this off directly. Yeah, it's up to you. If you get the setting or a certain picture you want to film, this may be the perfect background, the perfect lighting there. But yeah, that's exactly the case. And you should adjust this to your own desires. You can also get this vignette effect, but I think it's actually performance hungry a bit. No, it isn't. Okay, but I don't know. There's a certain reason why I toggled this off. I'm not sure why, but basically it makes everything a bit darker. And sometimes you have to compensate for that, and especially in dark environments, it doesn't work very well. So maybe don't use this. And of course, you can also get another color scheme, which is also the default setting of Eau Claire preset that I got on the basic level. And I guess, yeah, there are so many options. Look at this. You can really, really go into the detail and go into something like posterize. This is actually very cool, and something I always thought about making for a certain series of videos where I kind of make these Chromakey thumbnails. But of course, using this on a basic scale and for showing gameplay footage doesn't make much sense. But yeah, just look at this. There are so many options that you can use here that really make your thing look very differently. Panda effects. That's also cool. Very, very blooming like. As like the sunlight would just embrace the whole picture. But yeah, like I said, that's the basic thing. Check out all these values. I think these are the most crucial things, at least as far as I know. The basic things that work with shaders, that make shades much, much more vivid and colors a bit saturated and contrastful, and sharpen some of the edges. That your game just overall looks better. That I can show you the difference. This is toggled off. It looks much, much better. In my opinion, it looks much better, especially with 8 off. But even without 8 off, the background looks way more crisp like that. The shades are much more realistically and detailed and all that stuff. But yeah, so far for this topic. And what I said about the Chromakey, about the green screen that I'm using from time to time, I have to toggle out the performance overlay therefore. Gshade filter. The only area that comes to your mind where those Gshade settings might look off would be the Alexander rays, where the contrast is super strong by default. That's the case. It doesn't work with all things on a bench. So in the best case, you have different presets for different scenarios. For example, you have one for very dark areas, you have one for footage where you fight actually, where much battle effects are coming to your screen and stuff. Always make sure to have different settings here, or kind of make something that works for all of them a bit. This one works for all of them, but I'm not recording fighting footage with it, so I'm using the NVIDIA filters to record fighting footage, that making things a bit more crisp and a bit more contrastful, but not too heavily adjusting anything and not costing a lot of performance. That's always the good thing here. Okay, so about the green screen. If I toggle this on, you can see that's perfectly fine, and I could now use my photo editing software to make a screenshot, but I guess that doesn't work when I'm recording this right now. But yeah, I would mark this area, for example, like this area here, cut this off, and at this point I could easily just cut off Desperius to use her in any form of software or graphical editing software, whatever. And this will make a difference if you're using this for thumbnails, for screenshots, whatever, and you just need your character being highlighted and not the background. The difficulty here is that if you're having zoomed out the camera and you want your character to be on the picture completely, it's always a bit messing around with feet or stuff. So for feet lover people, I'm sorry, I have to disappoint you, but I haven't found a method to adjust this accordingly. But yeah, this is definitely a good solution to use this. And like I said, the FF Keep UI and FF Restore UI, they are super useful if you're using windows like in Gshade, for example. Now I have my thing toggled off. Okay, right now I can show you the menu looks weird. And if I just toggle this FF Restore UI, you can see the effects are not applied to anything UI related. So your UI doesn't get affected by a Gshade at that point. And Keep UI is making sure that this is not cut off anywhere or anything where you want to open up the menu. And if I would not check this box, for example, and use Chromakey, everything disappears, even if it's still there. So always make sure to use the FF Restore UI, which is the key feature actually of Gshade, because every other filter is directly affecting your whole screen, and you can't focus on certain UI element to not be affected by these filters. Okay, that's it so far. I can only recommend to check out many presets, test them out for yourself, download them from the Fashionista, download them from our Discord server, and you should definitely find something that works for you, or if you want to take screenshots at least, that makes a wonderful difference, and I can show you again, the difference is real. It's, for me, it's night and day. For some, it may just be small details, but I think the overall image quality is another level. It's like Final Fantasy has stepped up their graphical engine from this to this, and I really like it. I really like that. The shades are much more detailed and much more realistic. Sometimes they are not working flawlessly, as you can see. Some are overshadowing here a bit, but it's still better than having them none at all. I don't know if I can say more realistic, but it seems like it's more three-dimensional or something. It just looks more like a next generation game. Okay, so much for Gshade. Yeah, if you want to know something about that, check out my other videos on this topic, and of course always visit the Fashionista. They are, I think, one of the best sources where you can find all sorts of explanations about Gshade, and on their YouTube channel and in their Discord server. They are super friendly, super helpful to help you out with all sorts of things that you could find for yourself. Help Xenos, he was shot by Despi. Yeah, he was shot.
Yes! Yes!